courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here. Today's guest is a United States Army retired veteran, and his name is Roosevelt McCray, and he's out of Birmingham, Alabama, and he's a Purple Heart recipient, and he's the president of Chapter 416 over there in Birmingham, and a Vietnam veteran and a friend of mine. So stay right where you are. We've got some information. Get to know a little bit about Roosevelt. Stay where you are. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here. We're talking with Roosevelt McCray. He's out of Birmingham. He's president of Chapter 416, Vietnam Veterans of America. He's a Purple Heart recipient and retired United States Army. Welcome to the show, Roosevelt.
Pleased to be here.
Well, man, we've been talking about this a long time now. Finally got you to come east.
Hard thing to do it.
Got that old GPS going out there.
I'm a busy person.
I know you are. I know you're down this way a lot, but we never can hook up to when we're doing the show. So
Right.
Good to have you here. I just saw you a week or so ago down in Mobile. We had our convention down there. I don't get to see you very often, but you got very interesting things. Now, first of all, this is like a showcase for veterans. It kind of tells about you. This is the old show. This is your life. This is about you, and I want to get your perspective on some things. And we're going to talk about the Purple Heart. And man, that's not something somebody goes and goes out there and said, I want to get me a Purple Heart. But when did you go into service?
I went into service in 1954.
1954, in where?
In Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
I was working at Lloyd Nolan at the time. Went down to do my physical because I had been deferred a couple of times. So the last time they kept me.
You drafted?
I was drafted, yeah.
Okay.
I got out in 1958 after serving my time.
Okay.
And I felt that the military had more to offer than my previous job at Lloyd Nolan. So I re-entered. I got to Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, where I re-enlisted for 6 years, and I continued until I retired.
When did you go to Fort Chaffee?
Went to Fort Chaffee in 1958.
Man, I went in there in 1961. And do you know who went through there in between you and them?
Yeah,
Elvis
Presley. We were in the same company.
Yeah?
And he was in the, what we call the newbie barracks, and I was in the
So you was M, your letter was M, and he was P, so y'all would all be in that?
No, I was there before he was. See, he was an inductee, and I was a prize service.
You was in the same barrack area?
It was right across the hall.
Yeah.
I mean, the way from it.
Well, there was a cycle that went through there right before we did, and they kept telling us that's where Elvis slept right there.
Exactly.
And I would say, I'm having to put coal, when they had to do that,
Right,
they had to keep the water
yeah.
going. And I'm supposed to feel better about it because Elvis had to do that too. So it didn't make me feel any better.
I admired the guy because he was just like any other soldier.
Oh, man. If you could survive Fort Chaffee, that was something.
Yeah, but I left him there.
Did
And I went up to South Dakota, Ellsworth Air Force Base. I was supposed to have been out on a Nike site, but with my medical experience and background, I went over to work in the hospital.
From Lloyd Nolan's experience?
No, I was in the Army then.
I mean, you had experience at Lloyd Nolan?
Yes,
yeah.
yes, mm-hmm. All that.
So you was at Fort Chaffee and you went to South Dakota. Was it winter time when you went?
It became winter.
You got up to the snow up to here?
Yeah, because I started work one morning and had my car parked beside the trailer. I couldn't get out of the door after putting all these quilts and things around the door to keep the snow from coming in. So I walked all the way up to the Air Force Base and fell in a couple of drifts, so I went back and got in the road and went on up.
Yeah, people don't realize, I think about the Korean veterans. One of the things they tell me is the stories about losing toes, from frostbite and stuff. There's more things that soldiers go through in the military than just the enemy out there.
Exactly.
Sometimes
exactly.
the enemy is the elements,
Definitely.
But you served 27 years in the United States Army, retired. Were where are the other places you served other than South Dakota and Fort Chaffee?
I went from South Dakota to Orléans, France. For 4 years, and then I returned to Fort Lawton, Washington. At that time, I put in for the medical technician school. Lo and behold, I got it at the bad time. My wife was pregnant. She couldn't travel to San Francisco with me, so I had to go leave her there. My youngest child was born at that time.
So you survived San Francisco and Fort Chaffee?
Oh, yes.
I don't know which one of them works. I've been to both of them.
Well, San Francisco was good to me.
Was it? There's some good places to eat there. I can remember that. They just no hard problem finding a good place to eat. But,
well, we were living in Chinatown.
wow.
High rise.
People don't realize how steep those streets are till you go out there and do it. But back to that now. At one point, you went to Vietnam, right? What year was that?
Yes, I went to Fort MacArthur, California, before going to. That was my assignment after school, and I was down at Fort MacArthur for maybe 3 or 4 months, and got orders to go to Germany. I was in Germany maybe a year and a half, 2 years. Then I came up on orders to report to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to join the 92nd Engineers as that battalion aide man. I stayed with them until we deployed to.
The battalion deployed to Vietnam.
Exactly. Delta Company was down in Fort Rucker.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of the body was at Fort Bragg. I went over with the advance party to.
Go by ship?
No, I wouldn't go by ship. I flew.
Yeah. Our battalion went over. We went by ship, which is a long little cruise.
I avoided that.
28 days of it. Man, that's a bit. So you went to Vietnam. What year was that again?
1967.
67. I was there in 66, so I was already coming out by then. But you went as a corpsman?
Yes, I went as the battalion aide man, overseer. I had one doctor with me, named Dr. Bartzel. He came down with dengue fever. Well, with my medical background through the Army training, I was in charge. So he came back to the States. I had to do all the sick call for the whole battalion.
They called you Doc, didn't they?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it, and Dr. Lankwich, he came in. By that time, I had heard about the job in the embassy, which is they call Justbow. Some of my other fellow classmates was in that realm. So I applied for it and got it. And I was assigned down in Saigon with Justbow, the main headquarters. Later, I went up to Bac Lu province as their administrative assistant to the PSYOP advisor.
To the what?
PSYOPs, Joint Public Affairs Office.
Okay.
This is going out doing, working with the civilian people all together.
Okay, you were going into the village, working with them about their diseases and things like that.
Exactly.
And that was a big thing that America was doing, was working with and getting the confidence of those people. We got to go to a break and we'll come back and pick up there. But that was one of the things that America was doing, was trying to show the South Vietnamese that we could help them with their problem. We got to go to a break, come back, we got more of Roosevelt. Stay right there. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. We're talking about Roosevelt McCray, and we're just over we're talking about his military service, and we was in Vietnam, and Roosevelt, you was telling about the working in the villages, and I said, that was one of the things we was on a mission to show the South Vietnamese that we were the good guys. We were there to help them and that kind of thing, and what you were doing. Now, at some point, where did you received it at the beginning of the show? I said you had a Purple Heart. Now, first of all, let me clarify: you don't win Purple Hearts. It's not like a drawing, and you
don't.
So I hear people, and I got to say this because my president said on television the other day awarding a Medal of Honor to a guy, and he said he's the last winner of the Medal of Honor. You don't win Medal of Honors, and you don't win Purple Heart. It's a slip of the tongue, but it's very important to those who get it, because you're
Right.
a recipient of the Purple Heart.
Correct.
And and where was you at when that happened?
I was up in Baklou province. That was during the Tet Offensive,
Oh, my
68. Nobody, well, it was only 3 veterans or service members in the organization. Otherwise, we was an advisory team.
Okay.
And when the Tet Offensive started, 3 mortar rounds came in on my position, 1 at the top of the house, 1 down below. We was upstairs. And when the 3rd one came in, it was right below the window ledge where I was stooping. By that time, I knew I had been hit. And I told the civilian advisor, hey, they're firing on us. And that's the time we started firing back.
Yeah.
My weapon was destroyed. I had nothing else to use as a weapon other than my pocket knife.
Well, to clarify, those that's watching out there that don't know what Tet Offensive was, is in 1968, January. That's the lunar New Year for the Vietnamese, and it's like our 4th of July. And they celebrate just like we do with fireworks.
Exactly.
So what they did is they planned some operations where they would take on the villages and Americans, and under the guise of being firecrackers, fireworks. So the military just thought, well, they're shooting off fireworks over there, and when in fact they were bullets and grenades and mortars and that kind of thing. And it was one of the most horrible times of the year, 1968. I was at Fort Stewart, and I was going to Dover, Delaware, as an Army honor guard. I would take the remains to their families.
Right.
And I can remember those airplane hangars after January '68. It was some trying time, because we were really receiving casualties on that. For that, I was Army escort. I said honor guard was escort, but anyhow, you received the Purple Heart for that.
Exactly.
That right there.
Exactly.
And then, okay, when you came out of Vietnam, where did you go?
I came to Fort McClellan, Alabama.
McClellan, Alabama. That's
I was
down the
only
street
here. Right. No, I think I was here about a year.
Okay.
Oh, no, it was less than a year. And
Who
I
was you
deployed
with out there?
the Army Hospital, U.S.
Okay.
Army Hospital.
Martin Army Hospital.
Right. And I
No,
was
it wasn't
redeployed.
Martin. Noble.
Noble. I was redeployed back to Vietnam for the 2nd time. And at that time, when I went back, I closed the last dispensary in Saigon, which used to be the 218th Surgical Hospital, which I became the first sergeant here at Fort McClellan of the same hospital.
Oh, but doggone. And then, have you been out there lately?
I don't care to go out there
I know it. I can.
because that was the most beautiful post I had ever witnessed in my whole Army career. Matter of fact, when I came back in the Army, I took my physical there. So I just refused to go there. I have a lot of memories there.
Yeah, I can remember people talking about they must get out there with eye tweezers and manicure those on. But it was, not just up on Buckner Circle. I'm talking about the entire, if you went on that base, if you was privileged to be able to go on that base.
Especially at Boxer Gate.
Yeah, It was amazing what you see. And all those houses out there, the quarters, they just let them rot down and destroy it. And I understand why, but it's just, it's horrible to see a big base like that. And on the other side of that, they went out to Missouri and built one just like it that we already had.
Well, the thing with it is that what irked me a lot about that, they built all these new buildings for the personnel. They never got a chance to occupy them. And here I was out there, I was living in the old quarter-type hospital. But
the only thing they've ever used that Starship for, to my knowledge, is when we had Hurricane Katrina. Had like 4 or 5 people we moved in there for, and they spent millions of dollars just to get them in there.
Exactly.
But since you at Fort McClellan, where was you at? Where'd you retire from? Yeah.
I went down to Puerto Rico from Fort McClellan. I was down there 4 years. Then I came back to Fort McClellan.
And retired there?
And I retired here. As a matter of fact, I spent about 12, 14 years at Fort McClellan until I retired.
Okay. So you actually a Calhoun County fellow.
Pretty much.
That's why you're down here. I know you're down here to for business sometime, but
Right.
you got.
I got a lot of friends down here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. So you left the service and you stayed here. What did you do?
No, I went back to
You went to
Birmingham. Mhm.
Okay. And what did you do then?
Well, I started in the contracting business, building and remodeling houses, but I took up my GI Bill, and I got my degree in building construction engineering, welding, and I just took up all my GI Bill. So I started building houses and remodeling them on the side till I got tired of that.
It's amazing. I think when you say that welding, I used to be a welder. I loved the settling welding. I could take old spark plugs
Right.
and wire and make critters out of them and paint them, spray paint them and put
Right.
little dots and stuff on them, and people just loved them. I could have made money because now I go to these gift shops in the airport and there's spark
See a
plugs
lot
and
of
stuff. Look like butterflies, dragons.
Right.
What you have, you're the president of Chapter 416, but would you, that's the only organization you've been involved with?
No, I'm involved in every service organization. There is American Legion, DAV, Vietnam Veteran, Purple Heart, all of them.
Okay.
I'm a service person.
I hear you. From what I know of you are, and people don't realize that, there's people out there that, of course, you over in Birmingham, you see what goes on in Birmingham VA. You see
Right.
the volunteers that's over there, people that really give. They go to work just like it was their job, and
Exactly.
they're not getting anything for it. And we've had some that spent 10, 12 years over there, and they just go to work every day.
That's
And
right.
we just lost one fellow. I was trying to think his name. He died in Hawaii, but he was a Marine.
Yeah, I took his place, Don Herring,
Don Harry.
and he was the president when I came into 416.
But you'd have think that was Don's job, paying job, because he was there on the job. Every time I go over there he was.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well, he was a volunteer, too.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody. People do that. They don't understand. The people that drive the vans, and I got a friend here that drove for 7 or 8 years.
Right.
Never got any money. Actually, most of the time you take money out of your pocket to help people.
Oh, yes, definitely.
That,
I do it all the time.
That I mentioned the VA. We got a lot of problem with the VA healthcare system, and I don't have time to get into all that today. You and I'll talk about it later. But my philosophy is they built them VAs back in the 40s to accommodate a particular
certain
veteran.
amount.
Now they got women veterans and all that. But we got about 30 seconds here to wind this up, and you want to do. You told me one of the things you've got to want to do before your bucket list is to serve on the State Board of Veterans Affairs where I am. And I just want you to know that I would love to be sitting at the table with Roosevelt McCray as the representative of military Purple Hearts. And I hope that's what you and I can see someday.
Right.
And so hang in there, buddy. I appreciate
Okay.
you coming down here doing the show.
My pleasure.
People have met a real veteran, and I'll just see you up the road down it. We got to go to a break, come back. I've got news that you can use. Stay where you are. Get your pen. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and we had a great guest today, Roosevelt McCray. I appreciate him coming down to Birmingham and doing the show. And if you're a veteran out there and you've got an interesting story, just give me a call. My contact information will be here on the screen if it's not already up there. And I need to put it up there anyhow because I want to give you this number. My phone number is 256-831-2838, and that's for all things about the show. But if you've got an automobile and you hear me talk about that every week because I really do need some help on it. If you've got an automobile for sale that's serviceable and you're not having good luck selling it, we have a program that we can take your automobile and give you a receipt. That's good for a deduction on your tax, so you get the amount you was asking for the car. So give me a call at that number, and we'll take care of that situation. But if we've got a widow woman out there that can't go visit her kids or can't go to the doctor, you can help them out and get the money you're wanting for your car anyhow. So, and I want to thank for everybody that's buying that, purchasing that law enforcement tag. The law enforcement tag goes with every color vehicle you got, and it helps us build the law enforcement memorial. Yeah, we're building here in Anniston, and it helps pay for the one that we got in Washington, D.C. And WAC TV 24, we have the on demand. We're on demand on the website. So if you'd like to bring us up and watch it there, and then the Veterans Moments that we have every week. Veterans Moments is sponsored by K.L. Brown, Steve Hurst, and Randy Wood, and these are issues of bills that were passed on behalf of veterans that you wouldn't know about if you don't see it here on TV 24. So thanks to those two people, Steve, Randy, and KL, for sponsoring that each week, Veterans Moment. And we'll bring you information that tells what's available to you as a veteran, especially you young men and women coming home from Afghanistan. And if you'd like to help out the Cheehaw Regional Humane Society, they are doing great things out there and they need your help. And their phone number is 256-241-3647, 256-241-3647. Blankets, treats, or anything you'd like to do to help out the little critters out there. That's a great organization doing great things. And I gotta say this, Oxford Tire, I don't just say Highway 78, if you need anything done to your car, they're the folks to do it. And the reason I can say it on here is they give 10% off to a veteran. So if you need something done to your automobile, stop by at Oxford Tire on Highway 78. Good folks. Now pay it forward. A lot of you I talk about that. If you want to do something for yourself and do something for someone else at the same time, you're in line at a drive-in, pay for the person in front of you or pay for the one behind you. You can ask the girl how much it is and pay for it, and then that way you'll make them happy and you'll really make yourself feel good. So I do it all the time. There's some of the folks that's here at TV 24 have been a recipient, but I didn't know that was them. And one of our local officials, city councilman, was a recipient, and it's just a good thing to do. Now, I still have people asking about parking, folks that don't go to the VA as much as some of the others do. And I started saying much to me because I don't go there very often, but it's at 2128 4th Avenue North, 2128 4th Avenue North there in Birmingham. So you can set your GPS for that and find your parking over there. And they ask about HMR is still hiring down at Pell City, and that's HMRVeteransServices.com. And go on there and look for the career option and see what jobs they're hiring. I don't know. I don't have anything to do with that, but I do know that they are still hiring. And I'd like to give a shout out this week to my friend Betty Carr and Caitlin and Bella. And this week's salute goes out to Roosevelt, McCray, and all of our fellow Vietnam veterans. All you guys over there in 416, how you doing? See you next week right here on Veterans Issues. Salute.